We start with a fancily dressed beast in a mystical forest complaining about humans. He sees a baby by itself, and upon inspection he notices it has a strange power, but he notices an old man and decides to flee. As the old man approaches the baby, another child appears, a boy! Fast forward 16 years and the children have grown up. The boy, Aldo, is waken up by his sister, Fine. So it looks like the old man, tenderly called Gramps, has raised the kids as his own. We find out Aldo is a village guard alongside with his buddy, Daranus, and while on guard, Aldo visits Ashtir. Ashtir talks to Aldo about Prisma, those elemental objects you see in the village. She says they are crystallizations of the 4 basic elements. They were formed deep within the earth over long periods of time. Aldo finds himself chasing after the family cat, Varro, into some kind of vortex, which in turn leads to the Gallery of Dreams. Here he meets the Dumbledore-looking Gallery Master. The Gallery of Dreams hosts the gacha mechanic of the game, where you can unlock new characters. While Aldo is doing gacha pulls, the Beast King and his lackey, Varys, capture Fine! Aldo confronts the Beast King by calling him a creep, and the Beast King says he needs Fine's power to destroy humanity. The Beast King easily beats Aldo, but all of a sudden, Aldo's sword wakes up. The Beast King recognizes it as Ogre Rancorum. It tells Aldo to take up its power and avenge his slaughtered clan. Aldo grabs the sword and it becomes super fancy with special effects and beams and stuff. The Beast King then shows off his own sword and it becomes a sword measuring contest. The Beast King wins once again, but spares Aldo's life in respect to Ogre Rancorum. Aldo wakes up and they're gone. He chases after them in the Moonlight Forest, encounters Varys and beats him. Varys says Fine is in the Beast King's castle and unleashes multiple chimeras on Aldo. Just as it looks like Aldo is about to lose, he's suddenly sucked into a Terminator 2 looking vortex. The Terminator 2 vortex teleported him to the future! But unlike the Terminator 2 vortex, he keeps his clothes on. Aldo teleports right in front of Amy, and reveals to Aldo that it's the year 1100 AD. That's 800 years after Aldo's present year of 300 AD. Aldo bumps into an android named Rika, who's being attacked by synth humans, a robotic race that are enemies of the humans in this timeline. Aldo and Rika team up to beat them, and from then on, Rika joins your team. Aldo and Rika enter the bustling city of Elzion to meet Amy at her weapon shop. Here they meet Zael, Amy's dad. Amy gets some intel that a synth human captain named Galliard is hiding in the industrial ruins. Our heroes infiltrate industrial ruins to find Galliard. They overhear him mentioning a timequake occurring just as someone named Professor Chronos predicted. Our heroes have a battle with Galliard, and in his dying breaths, Galliard warns them of a coming disaster caused by a timequake. His colleague, Helena, remains to take care of his body, while our wounded heroes spare her and leave the wreckage. The city has a big celebration about our heroes' victory. Everything's great until everything disappears. What? Aldo appears in what looks like an obliterated Elzion. A being named Phantom appears, explaining that the future Aldo saw no longer exists. He tells Aldo that all of this began 16 years ago when he was swallowed by the dimensional vortex and lost sight of his true self. He says to get answers, Aldo must overcome the constraints of time, save his sister, and reclaim his destiny. Phantom disappears, leaving behind a vortex. Unsure of what to do, Aldo jumps in. We get a flashback of a young Fine running into a young beast girl named Altena in the woods. Fine heals Altena's sprained ankle, and from there they become besties. Aldo and Rika land in ancient times and rescue a boy named Varen. Varen asks them to meet this fire thing named Salamander in the Nadara volcano because he's been acting funny. And they're like, okay, sure. They fight him, and apparently he'd been possessed by a foul miasma. Salamander tells them that the spirits are affected by something not from this world, and he senses a disturbance in Parsifal Palace. In Parsifal Palace, they meet King Parsifal. King Parsifal reveals that he's been warned by some oracle of their arrival. He'd constructed the Tower of Time to alter the future for his own gain. The king teleports Aldo and Rika away and does this evil bad guy laugh, just in case he didn't know he's meant to be the bad guy. Aldo and Rika appear in a swamp. They meet a speaking frog samurai named Cyrus, who fans of the Chrono series would recognize. He joins the party. Cyrus takes Aldo to Parsifal Palace to see Ratchet, who may know more about his sword, Ogre Rancorum. Ratchet helps Aldo release a portion of the sword's power. Ogre Rancorum thanks Aldo for this and says that the beast folk wiped out their entire clan. He will lend Aldo his power to eliminate every single beast. Our heroes enter the Tower of Time, which looks like a giant anime donkey's ding-dong with huge eyeballs. They reach the top and see a room with monitors displaying infinite possible future worlds. It all seems to be controlled by these giant metallic baby head mask things. After our heroes beat these heads senseless, Aldo asks them to change the future once again so Elzion doesn't vanish. The baby head thingies comply, and then Aldo orders Rika to shut it all down. When they think it's over, Phantom appears! He thanks Aldo for putting them back in the normal timeline because that means the world can be put to destruction once more. He says that the Xenoprisma amplifies temporal distortions, sending shockwaves through space-time. These distortions apparently cost a lot of energy, and with too much energy spent, there will be a time quake, essentially destroying the world. Phantom explains this was all going to happen until King Parsifal changed the future. So if Aldo didn't meddle, the world would have been saved. Before Phantom disappears, he says, "Farewell, Aldo, Kit of Chronos." Aldo's like, huh? And then our heroes get pulled into a vortex, and our heroes find themselves in a strange place. Aldo wonders why he was called Kit of Chronos, and Rika says there was a researcher in Elzion named Professor Chronos. Maybe there's some kind of connection. Our heroes wander into a bar and speak to a bartender called Master. He says there are pillars of light outside the bar. One of them will help our heroes get back home. Our heroes travel through one of the pillars and end up back in Aldo's time, present time, in the Moonlight Forest. Our heroes venture to Miglan's castle to ask King Midlance about the beasts. They volunteer to help him investigate a beast sighting in Carrick Swampland, only to see weird creatures named Mobeka and Popori. Mobeka and Popori warn Aldo that Ogre Rancorum is lying to them. They say that 3,000 years ago, there was a great war between ogres and beasts. Thunder King, the leader of the humans, wielded a legendary sword. After the ogres were wiped out, they infused all their resentment and hatred into that sword. It wasn't the beast folk who wiped out the ogres, but the humans. Ogre Rancorum wants to extinguish all life, but wants to wipe out humans most of all, and it has a particular hatred towards Aldo. We don't know why yet, but it went to Boriwaki to specifically find Aldo. Mobeka and Popori change the subject completely and warn Aldo that the beasts have now made their way to Miglan's castle. But our heroes get to Miglan's castle too late. The beasts have the king hostage, making it difficult for our heroes to make a move. The Beast King says the humans got their power from Prisma. As the descendants of the elemental spirits, they're the right rulers of the world. Amy appears, giving Aldo and friends a chance to fight the Beast King. They beat him once, and he transforms to final boss form, who Rika names Gildner. They beat him, Fine and Altena appear. The Beast King says he doesn't know why, but Fine is the key to unleashing the untapped power of the elements. The Beast King leaves his mission to Altena, apparently sister, then takes his own life. Altena leaves with Fine, promising Aldo that the beasts will be the new rulers of the world. The king thanks our heroes for saving the day, and Amy explains she found a vortex to find Aldo. That's why she's there. There's a time quake, and Rika says things could get worse if they don't do something about it. Our heroes travel to Elzion to find clues about Professor Chronos, who may know something about what's going on. They track down one of the scientists who work with the professor. He said if they wanted to find out more, they should go to Xeno Domain, where his family used to live. To get there, they need to go through Elzion's leader, the administrator. He says the last project Chronos worked on was shrouded in mystery, and one of his experiments may have led to his disappearance. In the domain, they see a hologram image of Professor Chronos, his wife, Professor Madoka, and two kids, Eden, the boy, age 3, and Cecile, the girl, age 0. And a new hologram appears. Professor Chronos speaks. He says Xenoprisma was developed 400 years ago. It artificially amplifies the energy output of normal Prisma, but this artificial harnessing caused temporal distortions that, if unchecked, causes damage to all space and time. When realizing this, Professor Chronos started developing a safer, more efficient version of Prisma, Geo Prisma, but it was too late. It was only a matter of time before the Geo Prisma blew. To give his kids a brighter future, Professor Chronos developed a prototype, the Alpha Geo, and implanted a piece of it into his son Eden's newborn body. He made improvements to this Geo over 3 years, placing a new Geoprisma inside his youngest child, Cecile. He says if they are ever watching this video, the world is facing disaster and the siblings are key to preventing this. He finishes his video by saying he will begin his final experiment and that he has to take responsibility for what he has done. He hands the recorder over to Professor Madoka, their mother, who says she loves them very much. Our heroes find a room that contains prototype cores used to develop the new Prisma. They fight a security bot which seems to erupt everything. A masked man who looked like he just came from a sus costume party appears. It's the Oracle, the one who'd been whispering in King Palsifold's ears, encouraging him to change the future. He says the Xeno prototype is breaking down, warping space-time. This has opened a gateway connecting to a plane of existence different to theirs called Corridor of Time Layers. Apparently, they'll be able to eliminate the time distortions if they go through it somehow. And the place looks like the visions of someone on a massive trip. Phantom appears, claiming the end of the world has already begun. He says his brethren have begun pushing an entire continent into the Corridor of Time Layers. The force of the impact will result in a shock equal to that of a time quake. We see Salamander and the other elemental spirits interfering. The elementals sacrifice themselves to save the world. A giant timequake shakes the world and meteors from the 4 great elementals scatter throughout. But thanks to their interference, the world doesn't end somehow. But we're not safe yet. We see a giant dimensional vortex which the Phantom calls a pit of infinite chaos. 5 days later, the other heroes find Aldo. They go to Lola Dome and find out the synth humans are building an interdimensional warship called Synth Hydra, which they plan to fly into the vortex to manipulate history. They decide to visit the synth human Helena, who might help them bypass security. Even if they killed Galliard, they convince her to help them for the sake of the planet. They infiltrate the ship. The ship introduces itself as the Rift Breaker Synth Hydra. Our heroes deal with the Synth Hydra. It begins to crash. Helena tries to prevent Synth Hydra from falling, and when he thinks she's going to fail, what looks like the spirit of Galliard appears to give her strength. They break the fall. Our heroes begin repairing Synth Hydra and convince him to join their cause. They fly to Antiquity to speak to the Oracle for some clues, and then he reveals he's actually Professor Chronos, who traveled from the future. What? He says when he discovered the damage Xenoprisma was doing, he started work on Geoprisma and tore a hole in spacetime, leading him to Antiquity. In Antiquity, Professor Chronos realized he could stop fate by altering history so that the Xenoprisma never came to be, deciding the lives that would be lost from altering history would be a small sacrifice compared to the complete destruction of time. When the day arrived to put his plan into action, he sent his whole family through the wormhole. He tells Aldo to meet him at the Tower of Stars. Our heroes reach the Tower of Stars. Chronos explains it's his research facility where he studied the elementals. He created a special alloy using both Geoprisma and the fundamental power of the spirits that fell from the skies when the elementals sacrificed themselves. Working with the hazardous material has eaten away at his body. That is why he wears a mask. He offers the Geometal to Aldo to help him save the world. Before Aldo even has a chance of quality Father Son time, King Palsifal appears and slashes Chronos. Aldo holds Professor Chronos in his arms. He tells them that his associate Galliard II will tell them the rest, and then Chronos dies. Galliard II gives them a primeval gem, that special alloy that Professor Chronos was talking about. The primeval gem mitigates the effects of the miasma surrounding the dimensional vortex, allowing them to enter it without hassle. Galliard II explains that many thousands of years ago, before there were elementals, the forces of chaos and order clashed. The resulting dimensional vortex dispersed chaos through the universe, while order became stones like the primeval gem. As the heroes get ready to fly into the vortex, Varys appears via a tear in spacetime and says the birth of the savior of Beastfolk is coming. Our heroes reach the throne room of the Beast King's castle to see Altena with Fine. The Geoprisma that Professor Chronos placed inside her is activated. Fine combines with Altena and they transform into a boss named Geo Anguirus. Our heroes solve this dilemma by beating Geo Anguirus senseless. Fine and Altena are normal once more. Altena says she couldn't bear dragging Fine down with her and so let her live. Altena takes her life. Our heroes return to Barawaki and explain to Fine everything that happened before heading out to their final mission to stop the dimensional vortex from eating everything and ending the world. Synth Hydra loads the primeval gem's energy into its cannon and fires. Our heroes enter and reach the journey's end. Here they see Phantom again. He says he must entrust the future to him. Aldo asks, him? And then this giant being emerges from the vortex. It doesn't take long for our heroes to conclude this thing is screaming Alpha Geo energy. Remember Alpha Geo? It's the prototype Professor Chronos placed into his first son, Eden. Wait, what? Isn't Eden Aldo? Phantom explains that 16 years ago, when the Chronos family was separated, Eden was thrown into the very heart of the dimensional vortex called Chronos Umbra. He has lain there ever since. Cecile, as we know, was sent to Moonlight Forest and was renamed by the mayor as Fine. But what we didn't know is that Cecile, aka Fine, was also sent there with Chronos' pet cat, Kairos. As a protective mechanism, the Geoprisma within Fine implanted the form of her brother into Kairos, making the cat look exactly like her brother Eden. Hence another reason for the title of the game, Another Eden! Aldo was never really Fine's biological brother, but actually the family cat Kairos. Aldo is a cat, and that's why he's not too keen on women. Our heroes band together to enter the heart of the dimensional vortex, Chronos Umbra, to rescue Eden. They confront Eden, Eden swallows them, and inside they meet the real Eden, a sensitive glowing being with wings. They also beat it to a pulp! Aldo transforms into Kairos to help Eden come to. He leaps on Eden, causing a quick flashback of their family in peaceful times. Eden does come to his senses, he releases Alpha Geo and Fine releases her Geo Prisma, and they both save the world. Yes, I know it's confusing as fuck. Eden thanks Fine for not giving up on him and that he will always love her. He tells her to live a happy life before saying goodbye and then vanishing. We then see our heroes and the mayor by a cliffside, this time without Aldo or Eden. We get some finale dialogue, but wait! Both Aldo and Varro appear in their room! The siblings have an emotional reunion. Aldo wakes up to see his friends who say the adventure isn't over yet. There must be a way they can save Eden, and Fine says she can still hear Altena. And we've wrapped up part 1 of the main story. I hope you enjoyed this quick recap. All the main points were covered, but of course there are smaller details you may have missed. I have a longer, more detailed recap which I've included in the description.